Hello, friends, and welcome back to Ghouls Night In, the spooky chat show with your best ghoul friends. I'm Penny Snark,
And I'm Midge Munster.
and today I'm taking you on a journey, Midge.
Oh, I'm ready to be taken.
We are headed. We are taking us a tour of cryptids and legends of Wisconsin.
Oh, girl, you know.
What's up?
You know I have been waiting for a cryptid episode.
Yes. So when we were chatting off mic about cryptids, and I, of course, thought of some of the Wisconsin cryptids that I have grown up with here in the Great White North. And I thought that I would just give us like a little sampling of like some cryptids and a few other just general weird and wacky things from Wisconsin.
I fully can't wait. Missouri's not very fun in the cryptid realm, so I'm very excited to get to share in your culture.
Yes. I feel like one of the like one of my childhood spooky things was my family had a book called Weird Wisconsin that was just like all like stories and tourist attractions and just all sorts of crazy stuff from around the state. And I did try to narrow
You were really
it down.
set up for success from day one, weren't you?
Yes.
They really groomed you to be exactly who you are.
And I did try to narrow it down today, and so I did not include like ghost stories and stuff because I feel like that could be an episode all its own. So
Oh yeah, and it will be. I think it should be.
Yes. So we're gonna start with, I would say, probably the most famous Wisconsin cryptid, the Hodag.
Hodag?
Hodag.
What is a hodag?
What is a Hodag? The Hodag hails from Rhinelander, Wisconsin, and was first reported in 1893.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So this was a report from a well-known Wisconsin, as Wikipedia described him, land surveyor, timber cruiser, and prankster using Eugene Shepard. That might be a bit of a preview as to what happens in this story.
That's what I want on my tombstone.
Right. But the Hodag was described as having the head of a frog, the grinning face of a giant elephant, thick short legs set off by huge claws, the back of a dinosaur, and a long tail with spears at the end.
Oh, wow. I'm taking a mental journey on trying to picture this creature, and that's really something.
Yeah, he's pretty wild. So they reported that they rounded up a group of locals to try and capture it, and they had to use dynamite to kill it. But later, Shepard caught an alive Hodag with the help of several bear wrestlers and had it on display at the Oneida County Fair.
Wait, so this is something that, in theory, has been actually seen?
So obviously, news spread of this. People were very excited. People would come to see this display, and the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. Were like, all right, we're going to send some researchers out to see this. And that was when Shepard admitted that this was, in fact, a puppet that he had created.
I thought he was going to be like, oh no, it got out!
Right.
Where did it go?
Despite the fact that its originator it did admit that, the Hodag is very much still beloved in Rhinelander, and people do still report that they have seen it. So some people, will argue that it was just that specific. He did not actually catch a living Hodag, but Hodags are still real.
So I don't know if there's more information to this. When you say a puppet, like, was it like a carcass that he had altered, or like, because it had to have looked pretty real if people were like lining up to see it, right?
So it's kind of hard. From the descriptions I read, it sounded like it was kind of like a dark thing, and
like almost the silhouette of it.
Yeah, it was like in a cage, and it would kind of like jump, and people would be like, "Huh." And
so no one ever really got close enough to really examine it too much.
Got a really good look at this Hodag.
Gosh, people were gullible in the
Right,
1890s.
I know. But the Hodag is in fact the official symbol of Rhinelander. It is the mascot of Rhinelander High School, and they have a giant Hodag sculpture outside of their Chamber of Commerce. So you may have seen this. I will definitely post a photo of this on Instagram. But he's like a big green horned sculpture. I have not been up to take my photo with the Hodag, but I would very much like to.
Next time I'm in Wisconsin, baby, it's
Yes.
on. Like Donkey Kong, we're going.
Right. And some of the Hodag's claims to fame, it was a villain in a Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated episode, The Hodag of Horror.
Truly?
So that's part of that's the new thing. I think it said it was like 2012 that it came out, so it's part of like the new Scooby-Doo series.
Oh, cool.
And in the extended edition of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, there is an entry on the Hodag.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
So I would say the Hodag is definitely kind of like the king of Wisconsin cryptids, but there are others, including the Beast of Bray Road, otherwise known as the Wisconsin werewolf.
Ooh, I love a good werewolf.
Yeah, so this is another one that has like a long time back sighting. So this was first sighted in 1936. And this is in Elkhorn, Wisconsin, which actually I have spent a fair amount of time in because my family has a lake cottage that belonged to my mom's grandparents in one of those nearby cities.
Oh, that's cool.
So I've been in Elkhorn. I have not seen the Beast of Bray Road.
No?
No, but it is described as a 6 or 7 foot tall humanoid with covered in fur or hair with a head resembling a wolf or a bear.
Ooh, spoopy.
And there were a lot of reports of it in the 1980s. People are saying that it had like attacked their car and like left scratch marks. Mostly sightings at night, some during daylight hours. For the most part, people obviously suggest that maybe this is like an actual like a coyote
like a bear
or a bear. Like there wouldn't generally be bears in this area, but like you never know, especially if it's like maybe like a mangy sick bear.
Right, yeah. You have to wonder too if like I don't know, like think about all the breeds of dogs that exist, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
There has to be somewhere out there some like weird hybrid of some animals that have mated that shouldn't,
right,
wandering around. And maybe that's what we got going on this road.
Yeah. And there was a 2005 horror, like definitely not a mainstream horror film, but a horror film nonetheless called The Beast of Bray Road, made about this terrifying creature.
All right, well, I will be watching that. I hope it's like a terrible B movie, like that it has like Beowulf level special effects.
Yeah,
that would make me really happy.
I have not seen it, but it sounded like it is more of the B movie ilk.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited. I'm gonna add that to my list.
So brief detour. This is not actually a cryptid, but this is a story that I was told a lot as a kid, and in retrospect is pretty weird and offensive, but I'm going to share it with you anyway.
Great.
This is the tale of Haunchyville.
Haunchyville.
Okay. So this urban legend was that off of Mystic Road in Muskego, there was a secret colony of little people who were potentially former circus performers living in a secret town of miniature buildings. And if you as a average height person were to ever enter there, they will attack you and cut you off at your knees so that you are also small now.
Who on earth?
I heard this I heard about Haunchyville all of the time growing up, and as a kid I was like, ooh, scary, and now as an adult I'm like, not great.
You said, I don't know about that.
And I mean, it is so for for full context, there is a big circus history in Wisconsin.
Of course.
So Baraboo, by the Wisconsin Dells was where their Ringling Brothers
Oh,
would had a big grounds there, and so the Circus World Museum is there, and there's actually, I think they're one of the Ringling family mansions has been converted into a B&B out there.
whoa, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so I remember going to the Circus World Museum as a kid and stuff. And so there is
Ooh,
like a general reason for like circus performers to be top of mind in
sure.
Wisconsin, but still a pretty wild story.
That's cool. That's one of my weird subgenres of spooky things that I've always been really drawn to is like old circus stuff. I would really love to go to that museum. I didn't know it was there.
Yeah, it's a cool museum. Also, so this is a random thing actually going back kind of connecting to Elkhorn. So Lake Delavan is the lake that my family has a house on, and there was in fact a dead elephant in Lake Delavan
Oh no.
because one of the circus elephants, I believe her name was Juliet, because there was a pair of elephants called Romeo and Juliet,
Mhm.
and Juliet passed away, and it was during the winter, so there was no way to bury her. So, and
So
this
they threw her in the lake?
they dragged her out onto the ice and
No.
uh just waited for that, and apparently like for years later like fishermen would like pull up elephant bones out
That's
of the
like
lake.
really creepy and sad.
It is.
That's
And
a whole other take on water for elephants.
ouch.
Oh, poor Juliet.
Poor Juliet. But yeah, so there's definitely a bunch of like weird circusy things happening. I think there's a
Interesting.
clown museum in Delavan too.
No, 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 no way. I don't even have a clown thing, but that just sounds like why would you enter that situation purposefully?
Right. I know I've been there. I don't really remember it, but
Of course you have. I really feel like your family gave you this book and took you to a clown museum and put you in Girl Scouts, and then they were like, "Why is she weird and goth? We don't know what happened."
who knows? How could you say? It's just, my dad warning me about Haunchyville at night and that the Haunchies are going to take me away.
Oh my god. That's so bad.
uh So, Wisconsin is also a state with many, many lakes in it. So, there are, of course, very many lake monster stories.
Hell yeah. I love a
Hell
lake
yeah.
monster.
So, there's the Lake Winnebago Lake Monster, Devil's Lake Monster. Those both are like kind of like, I would say, seem to be kind of in the vein of Nessie, like
Mm-hmm.
plesiosaur kind of things. There's also Bazo from Lake Mendota, who is supposedly a giant sea serpent, who was
Cool.
first reported in the 1860s. That this couple was Lake Mendota is in Madison, and so
Okay.
it's right by the UW Madison campus. Um, so it is also considered to be the most researched lake in the world because obviously all of these students and stuff research there. So they have not found any evidence of this creature, but people reported that they were canoeing and bumped a log with an oar, but the water churned and the log disappeared into the water, and it was a sea serpent.
Ooh. This kind of ties back to our deep water episode, though, right? Like, to
Yeah.
me, sea monsters make the most sense to me of like cryptids that probably exist because like we really don't know what's under the I mean I guess lakes are pretty shallow but like
Yeah.
I don't know I of the cryptids if somebody was like yeah we actually found Nessie I'd be like that makes sense to me.
That's true. I don't remember if we talked about this in the water episode. We probably didn't, but I mean, there is like the coelacanth where people thought that this fish had been extinct for a super long
Mm,
time, and then they were like, oops, surprise, we caught one. It's not dead. It's still here.
Oops, surprise.
So I definitely can see that happening. Probably not within this specific lake. It's not a very big lake.
Okay.
Um, but apparently, this serpent was pretty gentle and good natured and would like play some pranks and chase little sailboats around.
Oh,
Um,
soft boy cryptid.
right. And apparently, part of the legend is that it since left through one of the rivers. So if it was spotted in the 1860s, it probably would not have survived until today. So,
Sure, sure.
but yeah, lake monsters are always interesting. I did read some interesting stuff, so I was not like as taken with like the Devil's Lake monster stories, but I was pretty into. They were talking about some of like the original native legends of the area, and it was saying that people that part of the reason that it was called Spirit Lake originally because the voices of the dead came from the lake.
Ooh, is this the same lake that you did the tour on? Or that your friend does tours
No,
on?
no, that one's just on General Lake, Michigan. I have been to
Okay.
Devil's Lake. It's generally like it's a big like hiking place. There are bluffs
Okay.
around it.
So
But
there are
like
multiple lakes in Michigan with the voices of the dead coming out of them.
yes, there's just voice of the dead all over the place. Well, actually, another one that I had prepared, which is also isn't really a cryptid, but apparently there is a Lake Michigan triangle,
Oh,
like the
like the
Bermuda
Bermuda?
Triangle.
Oh, that's
Yes.
interesting.
So as I kind of mentioned in that episode, Lake Michigan has a lot of shipwrecks and is
Mm-hmm.
generally known for that. But apparently, in 1891, a schooner named the Thomas Hume set off across the lake to pick up lumber. It disappeared overnight with its crew of 7 sailors, and the boat was never found.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Dum dum dum. And apparently there was this supposed triangle goes between I don't know if it's Ludington or Ludington. I'm sorry. To Benton Harbor in Michigan, and then back to Manitowoc, Wisconsin. We have also we see. I'm
None of
like
this,
Wisconsin has some wild names, and a lot of them I know how to say, and but some of them I do not.
none of the towns in Wisconsin sound like a real place, but continue. That's why you have all these monsters.
Right. Oh, this is completely a side note, but Manitowoc, a piece of Sputnik fell there,
Oh, that's cool.
and
I
they
mean,
they
they
have
probably
a.
didn't think it was cool, but
I don't think it hurt anybody,
okay,
but they
okay.
they have a Sputnik festival up there, and they have like a Miss Space Trash pageant that I really
Oh,
would like to compete in.
I saw photos from this recently, and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought,
that's in
I thought,
Manitowoc.
whoa, that's weird and cool. I mean, like weird in a fun way. Uh,
Hmm.
wow, yeah, you should do it. Do it. I'm gonna come root for you. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I'm like I feel like I am space trash, so
you don't
that could
even
work.
you don't even dress up. You just come as yourself. You said
Hello.
you said my brand.
It's me. Oh. And one other mysterious disappeared ship was the Rosabelle in 1921. 11 people all disappeared. The ship was found overturned and floating in the lake. It said that it appeared the ship had been damaged in a collision, but no other ship reported an accident and no other remains were found.
Weird.
But yeah, shipwrecks are all very scary, and there are lots of scary shipwreck stories. But
Yeah,
apparently,
shipwrecks
people
do heave my jeebs.
they do, and because you just don't know what's happening. I mean, same with dark water, but you just don't know what's going on out there. Like once you're in the middle of the lake, especially like in the 20s or earlier, like
Hmm.
you just sail out there and wish for the best.
All right. Well, yeah. That's. I mean, that's kind of the thing too, where it's like, because if especially like when things took a long time to get somewhere with a boat, it's
Hmm.
like nobody's looking for you for quite
Nope.
a while. And then
Nope.
by the time they are, it's way too late. So yeah, that is definitely ooky spooky.
Yeah, I found this especially interesting because I don't know if you can relate, but I was very like fixated on the Bermuda Triangle as a kid.
I definitely remember like learning about it, but I don't remember ever being like, like, I need to know more.
Yeah, like I definitely like I read books about the Bermuda Triangle and was looking up all sorts of stuff and I was just like what is going on down there? And why is no
Why?
one fixing it?
Why is no one just get in there and pull two of the pieces apart and
Right?
make it not
Figure
a
it out.
triangle anymore?
Right? But yeah, so, of course, with these mysteries, there have been, other reports talking about strange occurrences, lights in the sky, and all of those classic, supernatural markers.
Mm-hmm. Love a good light in the sky moment.
Right. And this one is in honor of your portal to hell, because apparently we have a portal to hell in Wisconsin too.
Yay!
Hey. It is at the Maribel Caves Hotel, also known as Hotel Hell.
Oh, incredible. Incredible. So maybe we could meet up. You can go there and
Right?
I'll
We'll
go
we'll
to
both go down
Kansas.
to hell.
Yeah, let's make a date for that. Maybe
Yeah.
2 weeks from Friday. Does that work for you?
We'll have to pick a not too crowded meetup spot and just be like,
Yeah.
oh, I'll find you by the pits of fire.
Yeah, bring a mask, of course. It's going to be crowded, especially right now with all the trials going on and everything.
Right. Yes. So this was a fabulous hotel built in 1900 that was a resort for the rich and famous. There was a freshwater spring there. So it was very popular, but it burned down in 1985. And there are
From
apparently
the hellfire.
right, there are apparently two different stories. Some say that there was like this was the third fire and it happened on the same day each year and this third one finally burned it down. But then someone else said that a crazy hotel guest like burned it down in the middle of the night, which I mean I guess they could both be true. The third fire could have been set by a crazy hotel guest.
Right.
But apparently a coven of witches opened a portal to hell in the ruins.
Hell yeah.
Like you do.
Pop off, witches.
And people have reported screams at night, strange noises, and blood running from the walls.
So did they rebuild there now as well? Is there
No,
there's no
so
hotel there now?
it's ruins.
Okay.
And for anyone in Wisconsin, it is a private property, and the owner does not want you to come and look and see if there's blood running from the walls. But
Yes.
obviously, some people have done so anyway.
Please do not visit hell portals without adult supervision.
No. Yes, but yeah, so that was an interesting one.
That's ugh. So now I want to like look up. Is there still? Do you know? Is there still like quite a bit of the hotel left? Like I mean, you say ruins. Is it like
Yeah, it's
a
like
burn up building?
So it's stone. So it's all stone
Okay, yeah,
that's left. So I can post a picture on the Instagram as well too. It looks a lot like a castle ruin from like Europe.
Okay,
because it's
cool.
like just old stone structures kind of crumbling. So
Gotcha.
it is very spooky looking. It would be I would do a spooky photo shoot there for sure.
All I can think of is that that Gordon Ramsay show, Hotel Hell. You remember that? So that's like what I'm picturing in my head, but
and Gordon Ramsay's just like, this is garbage.
Yeah, exactly.
This portal to hell is ridiculous.
It doesn't even work, you biscuit. Or like, yeah. I like to imagine, like, not that I think Gordon Ramsay's a bad person, but I liked like him as the devil makes a lot of sense to me.
It's
just
true.
like mouthing off and telling people what a bad job they did on Earth.
Yes. He would make you feel bad for your life choices.
But like in a hot way.
But yeah, that was my preview to you of some Wisconsin cryptids and legends.
I'm just so envious that y'all have so much going on.
Oh, there's so much. Like when I was like trying to research this for you, everyone's just like 6 haunted bridges in Wisconsin. I'm like, I don't have time for all these haunted bridges. Like, I'm gonna narrow
Now,
this down.
see, I think we could definitely do an episode about ghost stories, and like I would be able to contribute, like Kansas City in general, and then like Missouri has a lot of like that kind of stuff. But
Hmm.
the only Missouri cryptid that I have ever been aware of, we have something called Momo the monster, very creative. Uh, and he's like a Bigfoot in
Oh,
southern,
okay.
like in the deep southern Missouri. And we've got, he's just like a big goober. Like we've got like a beer named after him now and a bunch of stuff. But that we just don't have a whole lot of like interesting folklore here, which is kind of surprising since a lot of Missouri is very rural. Like you
Yeah.
would think we would have a lot going on, but or maybe I just don't know. Cryptozoology is a thing I've gotten very invested in the last like 9 months.
Yeah, maybe
So,
you'll dig in and find some additional legends.
yes. I'm
Yeah,
glad that
I feel
you
like
had so many to
Wisconsin's
share.
like Wisconsin's got the lakes, and then there's like all the woods. So like there's a lot
Hmm.
of like kind of North Woods sort of legendy things.
And I also think, and I mean this in the best way, that everyone in Wisconsin is just straight up a little bit nutty. And so they all got together and said, like, Hodag? Yeah, sure, why not? And that really makes me pleased.
This is true. So this is not relevant to anything, but back in the day, I used to when Lost was on, I
Uh-huh.
used to read Lost recaps, and one recapper wrote, I don't know why, because I don't think they were from Wisconsin, when something about, Charlie was going out to the jungle, and they just captioned a photo, watch out for Hodags, Charlie. And I think watch out for Hodags, Charlie in my head, like all the time. Whenever I'm like going somewhere and I'm a little bit freaked out and I'm like, oh, I should be like on what? I should have my head on a swivel. I'm like, watch out
Watch.
for Hodags, Charlie.
And that is also, consequently, now the name of this episode.
You got to be careful. You got to keep your eye out for them Hodags.
I did look up a picture while we've been
Oh
chatting,
yeah,
and
what do you
that's
think of him?
he kind of looks like a like those dragon puppets that they use for Chinese New Year.
Oh yeah, yeah, I
It
can see
looks
that.
a little bit like that, but more lizardly. Uh, it's very very interesting little
Yeah,
creature.
he's kind of the goofy lizard boy.
He doesn't. I mean, of course, it's the depiction. He doesn't necessarily look scary. He looks kind of like doofy, and I like him,
Yes.
especially with a name like Hodag, who's going to take you seriously.
Right. Very silly. Well, those were my tales. If any of our other listeners are from Wisconsin, I would love to hear your thoughts. If I missed or misrepresented any stories, I'm sorry. Obviously, with urban legends, they vary through the telling.
Hmm.
If you enjoyed this, I would definitely recommend. There is an awesome lady on TikTok called Gothsconsin, and
Oh,
she does a lot
amazing.
of content sharing spooky Wisconsin stories.
You know what? I had a remembering real quick, and I
Yeah.
can't remember. I want to say it's art by Catatomic, but I think it's her. One of the artists that's kind of in the pinup community has been doing a series of like haunted, insert state here,
Mhm.
doing like old travel posters of like different cryptids from every state and stuff. And I'm curious now after this episode, I want to go look and see if they've done Wisconsin, because
Ooh, yes.
if there's a Hodag shirt, I'm getting it for you for, I don't know, whatever holiday is next.
Yes.
I'm
Hodag
sending
Day.
I'm sending you a Hodag Valentine.
I would love it. All right. Good times, my friends. Thank you for joining us for this episode. If you want to make our day, you can leave a nice review or a comment on your podcast of choice. Our review of today comes from Aisha Miriam 3, who commented on our Podbean feed and said, feels like I've waited for a podcast like this my whole life. Thank you so much. It was awesome. And I think that's a pumpkin emoji.
Yeah, little jack-o'-lantern
Oh,
emoji. So
jack-o'-lantern. Thank you,
nice.
Aisha.
Yes, I'm so glad that we're filling that void for people who've been looking for a spooky podcast.
Yes. So, as mentioned, if you would like to see pictures of Hodags and other exciting things, you can follow our podcast on Instagram at Ghouls Night In Pod. And if you would like to see pictures of this green beauty, you can follow me at Penny Snark.
And you can find me across all platforms at Midge Munster.
I don't think we actually said the Hodag is green, for
I
the
know.
record.
Oh, that slayed me. I'm done for the day.
All right. Well, then, until next time, goodbye.
Goodbye.